Did you blowing a Nintendo 64 cartridge over there?
That's what it's bringing me back to.
Yeah, I was like, it's crazy, but it always worked.
Yeah, not this time.
That and licking the bottom of your PlayStation games worked.
What?
So if your like PlayStation game wasn't working, you eject it. I gave it like a good lick. You wipe it with your shirt. When you put it back in, it works.
I breathed on it. I never can. I don't think I've ever licked it.
Oh no, dude! I gave it the dirty business.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a cinematic odyssey through the 100 greatest films spanning from the roaring 1920s to the cutting-edge masterpieces of 2024. Carefully curated from the lovely people on Letterboxd. Two intrepid souls embark on a journey through a treasure trove of timeless classics and groundbreaking contemporary works, where each frame embodies the enduring magic of the silver screen. Grab your popcorn and join us on this epic expedition through a century of cinematic excellence, where every film promises to enchant, inspire, and leave an indelible mark on the soul. And now, for your listening pleasure, here are the Letterbros.
Welcome, everybody, to the newest episode of Letterbros, where we let a wheel decide our fate and what movie we will watch next, based off the top 100 movies on Letterboxd. As always, I'm Felix, and that guy with no microphone is Parker.
Did you have to mention it? People would not even notice.
No, but it's funny. We're doing it. It's
What do
gonna
you
be
mean, no
fine.
microphone? I have a mic right here, bro.
He's gonna spit. Oh wait, I didn't notice it was just your two fingers. Ew.
I'm doing fine, Felix. I've had a lot of technical difficulties today, but we're here. We're recording. Things are fine. And you know what? Nobody knows what's going on.
Nobody knows. And
Get
you know
ready
who's
for a
not
lot
gonna
of.
know? Somebody in the movie's not gonna know anything ever again. We'll get into it.
Okay.
But if you watched last episode, you'd have seen we pulled the 2004 Japanese film Nobody Knows, directed by Hirokazu Koreeda. And if Parker is ready, we'll let him dive into the synopses and we'll just dive right into how we feel about this movie.
Yeah, let's do it. So we have 2004's Nobody Knows, which is a Japanese drama directed by Hirokazu Koreeda. The film follows four siblings, each with a different father, which I didn't necessarily pick up on, who are left to fend for themselves after their mother abandons them. It's based on a real life child abandonment case, and the story unfolds with a lot of quiet intensity and a lot of just following these children after being abandoned by their mother. And that's really it. Like, that is the plot of this movie. We have, as I mentioned, Hirokazu Koreeda, who wrote and directed the film. It was shot beautifully by Yutaka Yamazaki, music by Gontiti. That's the whole name, Gontiti. And it's starring Yuya Yagira as Akira, Aya Kitarura as Kyoko, Hai Kimura as Shigeru, Momoko Shimizu as Yuki, and Yu as Keiko Fukushima, which is the mother. I remember we saw that last week when we were recording. But yeah, we kind of have this movie kind of made me think of the Florida Project in a weird way, where
Dude,
you're
I
just
was literally thinking this is like a Sean Baker ass movie.
yeah, so you're really just following these kids as they devolve, like this as their struggle gets to be larger and larger after their mom just completely abandons them. And the children are, for the most part, led by their 12-year-old oldest brother, Akira. And the neighbors in the apartment have no idea that there are any other children there other than Akira, because that would increase the rent. It would cause other issues. They would not be able to stay there. So for much of the movie, the other three siblings have to remain a secret and aren't even allowed to go outside or on the balcony. They have to stay very quiet. And it's just a terrible situation that just gets worse. And it's saddening to hear that this is based off of a real life child abandonment case. And things like this do happen. And I think that the film allows that to sink in with you. I don't think that it does anything that feels out of place or out of touch when dealing with such a harsh and sensitive subject matter. It feels very grounded and just kind of like it's trying to present to you the true sadness of this thing that happened, and the lack of hope, really, that there was for the situation at large. There's no adult intervention. Several people are clued into the fact that these children are abandoned throughout the film, and they're still, regardless, left to fend for themselves, essentially, with the exception of a female character who comes in a little more than halfway through the film, named
Her name is
named
Saki.
Yuki. Is it? Oh yeah, yeah, not Yuki. Saki. Saki. I did not have her in my main cast list. That's why I didn't see it here. So yeah,
No, you're good. I
she
had it
comes
in
in and
mind.
she tries to help in ways that aren't necessarily comfortable for Akira. And yeah, what did you think of the film, Felix? I haven't seen anything that any reviews you've put up. We haven't talked about it at all. So I'm very curious to hear what you thought of it.
Yeah, so honestly, it was really interesting that like when you look up this movie on Google, it descript or like the genre is documentary slash drama. And it definitely felt like that. Like it felt like you were just the minimal like storyline, and it was just this is what's happening. We're just going to follow these kids around like you mentioned, kind of like, the Florida Project, where we're just literally watching these kids just deal with this situation and just watching Akira struggle with, having to take care of his siblings, but also, try and enjoy your childhood. And I honestly really liked the film. It was definitely something that I would chalk up as, one of those movies where I'm glad I was able to watch it and experience it. Is it something that I'm going to be returning to? Probably not. But it was great. I honestly really enjoyed it. Like the performances were amazing. The screenplay was really tight. Like, and it's always hard to say when it's a foreign language film, but I mean, just based off of everything they were saying, like they were just showing just raw emotion. Like this film could have easily fallen into like the more melodramatic or have these like hammy performances, but I mean these kids were just being kids. They just had different names from what they're obviously born with, but they honestly had such like great chemistry between all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
even like even you, she was
So
fantastic at
good,
playing this,
so
just
good.
like this person who's clearly not fit. Like obviously I wouldn't say not fit to be a mother, but honestly like that's not something that was really in her wheelhouse. Like each kid has a different father, even though we only ever see two adult
Two of them,
men.
yeah, and it's kind of hinted at. It's not like expressly.
But one of them even says like, I'm not the daughter of Yuki, I wore a condom. So then I'm like, okay, so we are knowing about Yuki, but like what about the other children? And we really only get like a sort of brief like hint at Akira's father. We just know that he works at Haneda Airport. But yeah, I mean, it was really great. It again made me think about Sean Baker. I really like Sean Baker's films. Shout out Florida Project. Shout out Honora. There was one scene, like literally after I typed in my note saying this feels like a Sean Baker film, and it's when not Yuki, Saki, the high school student, is like, "Oh, I'll get us some money," and she goes into this building with this older gentleman, and I was like, "Ah, sex work. This really is a Sean Baker film now."
Not to discuss this movie purely by comparing it to other movies, but it also I just saw Warfare in theaters, and it's also reminiscent. It's like that. Not obviously not the plot, but in the sense where you're just following like a singular progression of like one thing. And Warfare is even more boiled down because it's like told in real time. It's like 90 minutes, and that 90 minutes is 90 minutes like in the movie. So it's a little different in that aspect, but in the sense that it doesn't necessarily focus on a weaving plot that's going to keep you engaged the whole time and guessing what's going to happen. Like there is some, curiosity as to whether or not people will get involved, whether or not the mother will come back, whether or not Akira will follow bad influences. So there is a plot there for sure, but it's it's not necessarily about that explicitly. It's more so about following the internal thoughts. I feel like there's a lot of internal thought going on, a lot of internal dialogue that is just played out through gorgeous cinematography of these kids doing kid things and just trying to fit in and navigate childhood without any sort of role model in their life, adult role model, I should say.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, the kids had excellent chemistry. That it could have been a documentary, in the sense that they felt like such real people,
Mhm.
including the mother and everyone involved. We'll talk about that more in the ratings, but yeah, I liked the film. Like you said, I don't think I'll be revisiting it often. I don't know how frequently I'm going to revisit this, but I am glad I watched it, and um, I enjoyed it. I never was completely taken out of it. And there are some times where the movie does feel a little bit slow. And similar to you mentioned Sean Baker, like I have those issues with his movies too. And I had a very similar feeling, but it wasn't to the point of frustration or boredom. Just some lulls here and there for me. But on the whole, I mean, beautifully shot and beautifully acted, and the way that the story progresses, I thought was very, very well done. Yeah, this feels like it's going to be a middle of the pack movie for us, if I had to predict.
Yeah, I think on the higher side of it too. I mean, out of all of like these like little like another one that I kept thinking about and like I don't know, I kept thinking about like In the Mood for Love sort of just like in the aspect of it's shot very artfully, very indie looking, but like I don't know, I felt like with In the Mood for Love, it was just a lot of scenes where they talk and then there's the artful shots and all of these like Nat King Cole ass songs just playing over and over again. But like here, it feels real. Like it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
feels like you're literally just following this dude around with a camera with children, as weird as that sounds. But like,
In the Mood for Love felt like they were creating art out of life,
mhm,
and Nobody Knows feels more like it's finding the beauty in the reality of things. In the Mood for Love
yeah,
definitely felt a little bit more surreal to me,
yeah,
in terms of its artistic direction, but both gorgeous nonetheless. I'm definitely preferential towards the type of style that Nobody Knows was going for, because
mhm,
those are moments that we actually have in real life. Like, it's very rare that you find yourself in some location, right? And you're by yourself and you have a moment of like internal solitude. I'm sure this happens to everybody. You just kind of appreciate like the beauty of the things that are around you. Like, that is what Nobody Knows feels like, is those moments that are kind of rare but awesome to have. And then In the Mood for Love feels like something that had to be made. Like, you don't really see, it's a
yeah.
beautiful vision, but it didn't feel like reality
You
per se.
feel like you are on a movie set
Yeah, yeah.
in the Mood for
Right,
Love.
right,
Like, but
right.
here it's like you're in like the seedy underbelly of Japan. And I was even gonna mention like even like the
Well, In the
lulls
Mood
that
for
you
Love
mentioned.
is Chinese, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not Japanese. But I would say like even like the lulls that we have in this movie, while like yes, it does affect like the sort of like progression of you watching a movie, I feel like it's important like in the suspension of disbelief aspect of making you feel like you are literally just following these children's lives and just I I thought it was just very well done. Like there wasn't really a moment where there was actually just like a couple moments where I'm kind of like okay, like let's get it moving, but it didn't. I don't know, it kind of doesn't make sense, but like the lulls were there, but it didn't make me feel like I had to like check my watch. Like it was kind of almost like a
Right, right.
break. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I also want to point out that I really like the way that the movie let you know that things were coming, that harder times were ahead, just by them coloring on overdue gas bills, right?
Yeah.
And that subtitle pops up, and you're like, ah, damn, like they don't have much longer until they're without this, and then they're without
Mhm.
water, and they're essentially homeless, right? But with a roof. And they
Correct.
don't
Like
have water, they don't have any way of getting resources, they're dirty, they're shabby. I think that it did a good job over the course of the runtime of plunging us into that. Because they don't start off like in a great situation, but it's a hell of a lot better than where they end up.
Which was a little confusing to me at first. Like, I honestly thought that, like, part of me thought that she, like, lost a custody battle and, like, with, like, the 3 other kids, and she just, like, kinda kidnapped them, like, kinda make and because she only, again, lets Akira outside, but then the other 3 have to stay inside. Like, the other 3 are brought in literal suitcases. So, like, I don't know if they were, like, on the run or whatever, but, that also makes sense about, like, trying to let the landlord know that there's only one kid, so that way the rent doesn't go up, which I think it's kind of weird. But I kind of liked how the movie didn't, like, explicitly give you, like, reasons as to why things were happening. Like, we don't even get a reason for why Kiko leaves in the first place. Like, I honestly thought, like, when we got the synopsis that she was just going to die, but I feel like it hits you even harder and it makes the situation even worse, like, especially, like, and we'll just go ahead and spoil it here. Yuki, the younger sister, falls off of a chair while trying to, like, set something up, and she just dies. Like, she succumbs to her injuries and dies. And while literally all of that is happening, like, they're holding a funeral for Yuki in the apartment. Akira opens up a letter from his mom with just some cash and just says, "Take care of the kids." Like, I feel like if she would have died, it would have made it more sympathetic towards the children's situation and towards Kiko. But I feel like just even that shot selection and just having her send the letter just makes you hate this woman even more. That, like, she definitely has the capability to come home and be responsible for her children, and she just chooses not to. And even in one scene, like, way earlier in the movie, is even calling Akira selfish, and that just because he wants to
Yeah,
go to
I like
school.
that he called her selfish though, too.
Yeah,
That whole
which
interaction.
is true. She is fucking
Oh, so
selfish.
selfish. So and portrayed you does an excellent job of portraying that. Like you really hate her. And I
Mhm.
want to mention it. It seems that this movie is loosely based off a real life child abandonment case. According to Google, it's not a literal adaptation, but more of just a retelling of what occurred. So I
Mhm.
don't know if a child died as a result of this abandonment. I'm not 100% sure. Regardless, child abandonment, never a good thing. And the movie still feels like it's very based in fact. Like even if it's not a literal count for count retelling of something that occurred.
Yeah, it still feels very authentically real. But then obviously, like, you have some story aspects that, like, make it, like, artful. Like, Yuki coming in and out of the apartment the same way that she came in a purple
Oh,
suitcase,
right.
and they take her out of the apartment in that little, well, not purple, pink suitcase, was just very, like, it's very artful. And then taking her to Haneda because he said that he would take her to go see the
Yeah.
airplane someday, and now, like, the movie even, like, ends with Akira looking up to the sky and hearing, like, the airplanes, and now, like, he can't even hear that without thinking about his sister. And just, like, I was fine just watching this movie and just seeing, like, how far these children can get without, like, crashing out, and just, like, seeing how far they can hold on. And then Yuki died, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Again, this is the movie that reminds us of so many movies because there's a lot of of the Fireflies going on here too. If we're
Yes, dude, there
and
was literally one moment where she has, like, her little candies, and she says, "Oh, there's only one left." And I
mhm.
was like, "Oh shit, she's gonna give it to her brother, just like Grave of the Fireflies," but she
But
didn't.
no, she just.
Yeah. Or, like, savor it for later, just
But
like, yeah.
I want to say in that scene, the way that she enjoyed that last piece, like it was just playing all over her face. Like it was so good. It was so good. These kids were so good
Yeah.
in this movie. Like
No, they were fantastic.
I
My
felt everything.
favorite, honestly, was Shigeru, the younger brother. He was
He was
hilarious.
amazing.
But I also was kind of thinking, like, Kiko mentions, like, specifically to Shigeru that, like, he needs to stop, like, being loud. And you could acquaint this to, like, him just being a kid. I kind of thought he was on the spectrum a little bit. Just because of also, like, and again, this could account towards, not there not being a parental figure in the house, but like a lot of like his clothing choices, a lot of like, he's like his just kind of like his mannerisms. It led me to believe that like he's slightly on the spectrum, but again, it could just be that he's a young boy and just not really grasping the situation that he's in. Like there's literally times where like he's playing around with the idea of going outside even though he's not allowed to. Like he's playing with like a ball of clay and the clay hops outside and he's like, using a shoe to try and get the piece of clay. And then later on in the movie, he has like a little robot that the head pops off and he's like purposely aiming the head outside the balcony so he can just go outside. But
Yeah, well, I mean, the sad thing is that even if he were on the spectrum and needed potentially some kind of additional help in terms of his development, literally, like, no one in this movie would care or know or give a fuck, and he just does not have that resource available to him if that were the case.
no,
So yeah, either way, it just fucking sucks. Like, these kids are left without any sort of resource. But I see what you're saying. I mean, I thought that all of the children felt like they had their distinct personalities, and like you really felt for them
it really did.
through
Like
their mannerisms. Yeah.
Kyoko just wants to be her mother. Like she's always kind of fidgeting like with her stuff. And, as like, we see the mom abandon the family, like we kind of see her, like we kind of see Kyoko lose her sense of self in a way. Like as the movie progresses, like we continue to see her just like off somewhere else or hiding in a closet like with her mom's clothing. Like she cannot get over the fact that like her mother is just gone, but it never explicitly like has her say like, oh, I miss mom. But like it's like what you said, like they have these inner thoughts that are portrayed just through their facial expressions.
This movie is the epitome of show don't tell, which is
Correct.
constantly preached, by writers.
Exactly. And it just like some of the moments that I really enjoyed the most in this movie was Akira just being a child. Like, and we see that progress more and more throughout the film, obviously, but like that first moment where he's just like, I'm a kid, when he's like throwing a ball up in the air and just like trying like basically playing baseball with himself. Like we see throughout the movie he's obsessed with baseball, like saying that he wants to use his money towards getting a baseball glove and inevitably randomly joining a baseball
Yeah,
team later
that
on
was so
in the
weird.
movie.
So that's a point where I'm like, I don't know why we
But
have
I
watched
think it's a cool
it. It is
full
nice.
circle moment for them.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's
true.
that's
That's true.
something that he was really wanting to do, and the situation at hand never really allowed him to do so. Like he couldn't
Fair
go to
point.
school, he couldn't join these baseball teams, but he's just hanging around randomly, and now he finally gets to achieve his dream of playing baseball. So I thought that was a nice little sub arc that we got in the movie. But
Barely an arc though. I mean, it just went
what
like
were
really
some
top that.
qualms you had with this movie?
Hmm. That's a good question. I feel like in the ratings, I would be able to discuss that more easily.
You think so?
Well, you clearly have something on your mind.
Oh, no, 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 no. I was just asking.
Oh, I mean, it's hard to pick out immediately. I think that it's not a highly rewatchable film in my mind. Like, it's definitely. I felt its runtime at 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
it's
It
also
didn't drag, but it didn't like, it didn't
it's
feel like,
right, right. You kind of feel it's one of those movies you just kind of feel a little bit exhausted after,
yeah, it's very emotionally draining.
And other than that, I don't really have issues with this movie. The music. I didn't really like the music. Like it did the job, but like I definitely every time the score would come in, I either wished that they just went with like without any score in that moment and just let the cars pass and let us be there with these kids as they're experiencing the outside world. Like when they're taking them when he takes his sister when Akira takes his sister to the monorails, like, and the score kicks in, it cheapened the moment for me a little bit. I wish that we could just hear the monorail and live with them as they're watching that, or when they're getting when uh he goes and kicks his brother's toy for being outside, and the score kicks in again. It's like I just want to live there,
Yeah, that
and
kind of
the
took me out of
music
it.
didn't
Like
necessarily do it for me.
the silence would have, it would have given it a lot more oomph if the score was not present in that scene. Honestly, I feel
The
like
score was
that's like,
different, honestly. I just don't. I don't think the score necessarily did it for me in terms of the
yeah.
emotional depth.
Well, no, I agree with you there. I honestly think that like if you're going for this slice of life, like just pointing a camera and just watching people just live their life kind of documentary style, I think like the absence of a score leaves a little bit like it heightens the suspension of disbelief a little bit
Yeah.
more and then doesn't make you feel like you're watching a movie. Like then you have this movie moment and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just watching a movie."
Something I also want to point out that I was like, why? Why did that happen? There's a scene right after Akira slaps. What's her name again? Uh, he slaps the money out of her hand right after she goes and like prostitutes herself, or sings karaoke with the dudes.
Saki, yeah.
Yeah, Saki. When he's running after he slaps some money out of her hand, there's this beautiful, gorgeous tracking shot of him running, but there's a cut right in the middle of it, like a cut.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
also thought that running scene went on forever.
Well, I loved it, but the fact that there was a cut in it, I don't know, it just pissed me off a little bit. It's like it's so beautiful. Like where did something go wrong where you had to have like a little cut in this?
Maybe they ran out of track and they're like, "Oh shit, just start from here again. Just keep running."
Yeah, well, I don't know. Did you notice it?
Yeah, I did, but
Okay, okay.
I don't know.
Did it
I
irritate
kind of
you?
felt like you can't make this kid run forever.
I don't know.
Like
Yeah, you
maybe
can.
he got tired, dude, or maybe he
No.
like stubbed his toe. I don't know. Like it could be
Then make it
something.
so seamless that you can't even notice there's a cut.
Damn. Well,
I don't know. Harsh criticism, I suppose. But you want to move into the rankings? We can criticize more and praise as
yeah,
well.
we can continue to shit on this movie. No, just kidding. We love this movie. So yeah, so for enjoyability and rewatchability, like I mentioned earlier, I did really enjoy this movie. I thought there were things in it that were really fantastic. It's obviously not something that I'm happy that I watched it. It's not something that I'm going to be returning to in the future, so I go and give it a 10 out of 15.
Okay, I was between 6 and 7. I think I'm gonna give it a 7. Let me see here. Okay, I gave All About Eve a 7. So just to compare it directly to the last movie we watched. And I would say I would be more inclined to watch All About Eve again, but not by a super wide margin. I'll give this a 7 as well out of 15. For story, it's tough. I think, like I said, there's not a lot of real. How do I put this into words? There's not a lot of super in depth storytelling going on here where there's so many ups and downs and you're wrapping your head around this massive, like, or not even massive but super detailed event that's going on, but nonetheless it tells the story in an effective way. And I think that if you were to try and add a whole lot of detail and minutia to this movie, it would become bogged down by the unnecessary plot. I think I'll give it a 12 out of 15. Just feels right. What about you?
I will go back and give enjoyability and rewatchability a 9, just because, like, to your point, thinking about it from like even just the last movie we watched, I would also feel more inclined to watch All About Eve more than this. Like, All About Eve is just like fun to watch, and I feel like in terms of like rewatchability, I would probably return to that more. And I gave that one a 9, but I feel like I enjoyed the experience of this movie more than All About Eve. But in
Mhm.
terms of rewatchability, I feel like that's where it evens out for me. For story, I also gave it a 12. I was kind of struggling trying to give it a score because there's not necessarily like obviously there's a story, but it's not like a beginning, middle, climax, falling action, end sort of story. Like it's just like this is the synopsis. The mother's gone. Just watch what these kids do for the rest of their lives now, pretty much. So I thought that aspect of it was interesting. The only thing I'd say it gives it from a 15 is that we never, and this could obviously be like a direction or like directory like choice. You introduce this aspect of like, oh, the kid's having multiple fathers, but then never really like jump back into it, and you only really hear about Yuki, and so like the other kids is like kind of backstories just fall to the wayside. So that's where I'm like, even if you were to like kind of tell that a little bit more through, I thought like when Akira was visiting like the taxi driver or like the security guard at like the little like casino or whatever, I thought he was going to be visiting like each of their own fathers and trying to figure out where their mother is, but then that didn't happen, so I was like, oh, okay.
I feel like it worked though in the sense that that's the point, is like there's no adult intervention in these kids' life, like despite the fact that there is contact being made. You know,
Fair.
they're like no one is going out of their way to make sure these kids are okay. Where I think I'm gonna actually pop it down to an 11. That it just feels better to me. I also think like I appreciate the ending. I think it's a good ending to the film, and we don't obviously the thing is, there's just so much more story left to be told. I mean, the kids are still in the same situation that they've been in for the duration of the movie. And like, there's still probably a lot that's going to happen in their life, like as they continue to grow up. And I respect the fact that we never see any of that, but it also makes it feel a little bit like, well, okay, then why did we spend so much time leading up to this point? Like, yeah, Yuki dies, and like that's a climactic ending. But there's still a lot left. Like these kids have to figure the fuck out what they're going to do into adulthood. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it an 11. What? How do you feel about lasting impression?
So lasting impression, I wouldn't say that like this movie like blew the doors off of my like my brain, but it's still like obviously left a huge impression, especially with the ending. And obviously like this movie is very influential. Like again, I would not be surprised if like Sean Baker did like a Criterion channel or Criterion Closet like episode and he ends up pulling this film. It was like it's very reminiscent of like what his style is. But I ended up giving it an 11. It was very, it definitely left an impression on me, but it's not going to be up there. It's something that like completely changed my life.
Yeah, I agree. I give it a 10 out of 15. And I usually feel like I don't have much to say about lasting impression. It's more just the number that kind of comes to mind. And for
Yeah.
me, for this movie, is a 10. For visual and auditory appeal, I almost feel bad giving it an 8 because this movie is shot at a 10 out of 10. Like we mentioned, the score took me out of it a little bit. And I found myself, and I feel bad saying it, but at the end of the day, we are reviewing this movie. The score did not do it for me. Like it was enough to hold it back in this category. And I wish that, like I said, we either didn't get one or we got something that allowed us to feel more of the isolation that the kids were going through. It felt like very standard, typical sad music that was being played.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, it's a visual and auditory
Right.
appeal. And I would say like even when if you have like I gave it an 8 by the way. I was like I just
Oh,
typed in the
sick.
number
Yeah.
prematurely. Again, the movie is shot beautifully. Like the shot selections that they have are really really good. The score is there, but it's not blowing the doors off of me. But one other thing that I just like could not stand was some of the use of sound in the movie. Like there's a lot of times where they're just eating ramen and just slurping the absolute shit out of it.
It's when the dad was chewing the gum in the car for me, dude.
Yeah, like but that's the thing, the movie does it so many times. Like there's a scene where he's like scraping something or oh no, it's when they're like writing their names on the styrofoam cups for the plants and it's literally just like like that shit threw me for a loop and I was like it took me out of the movie for a second honestly, like having to hear like I don't like that in real life. So
Mm.
now I'm like in an intimate setting of watching a movie and now you're just hearing these kids just like slurp up their noodles. I was like get the fuck out of here, bro. So that kind of took it down for me a little bit, but still an 8 really good score. I mean the movie looks amazing and it's just it's just great. Pacing, I honestly gave this movie a 9 in pacing. I thought that
Wow.
like you said, like the lulls don't feel like lulls. They feel like breaks to like give us some time to like kind of take a breath and really take in this like really shitty situation that's going on. It's not just like and it's I keep it sucks that I keep like referring to Sean Baker, but like even in Nora, like it's just like constantly just moving and moving, and it's just one crazy situation after another, where it's like it's paced very quickly, but you're like, dude, give me just like 2 fucking seconds to like figure what's going on. So I feel like this movie does it very well, where it's yes, it does feel like a 2 hour movie, but it does give you some moments to breathe and just like watch the kids do something fun or watch Akira be a kid, but then it jumps you back into remember you're dealing with this shitty situation. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I was looking
Ooh.
back at some old ratings. Pacing wise, I think this movie definitely had its lulls. They weren't killer, like they weren't super painful, but it definitely didn't move as well as I think it could have. Acting wise, though, 10 out of 10. I think this is
Yep.
definitely, I mean, it's up there.
I agree. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's so good. It's, I think, possibly the best. Like, this is right up there with Scenes from a Marriage for me in terms of the performances that were turned in.
Mhm.
Totally different,
Yeah.
but every bit as convincing. And like I said, there's so much that these kids do to allow you to feel what they're feeling without them even saying any words at all. And that's a testament to the direction and the writing of the film too, to have that much confidence that you don't feel that you need to give dialogue to these super emotionally filled moments in just
Or
a lot.
have them like ham up their performances. Like
Right.
all of these kids could have easily been like crying their fucking eyes out when Yuki died, and just like, giving like super dramatic, like tear jerking like stuff. But like I feel like it hit even more that like they were just kind of silent and just kind of sitting with the fact that like their sister is gone. Like there's literally a line that Shigeru says that like, oh, is am I saying goodbye? And as they're like hoisting her off into like in the luggage, like it's just that hit a lot more than like watching them like cry their eyes out while they're taking the suitcase away. Like that shit was like Scenes from a Marriage was really good, like fictional performances just given by like really good actors, which is a really dumb thing to say, but I think like they gave very good like playwright-esque like performances. Like if you watched it on a stage show, it would have been like money well spent. But here it feels so real. Like you honestly believe that like these kids are going through this actual situation. Like it's and that leads into my suspension of disbelief score. Like honestly, I gave this a 10 out of 10 as well in a
Me
1.
too.
Like it just this movie does not take you out of it for a second, and even like during the breaks like I mentioned, like you still feel like you're watching like this is real. Like it really does kind of feel like a documentary that you're just watching these kids deal with this shitty situation.
Hmm. I do feel like some things kind of happen abruptly, like despite the somewhat slow pace of the film. But that is more of a mention of my pacing score. For originality, I think I gave this an 8 out of 10. Yes, 8 out of 10. Couldn't really tell you why. I mean, 8 out of 10 feels right in terms of originality. Again, it's like objectively subjective, I guess. But what about you? What score do you give it for originality?
I also gave it an 8 out of
Yeah.
10. Honestly, like this was done in a very original way, like this kind of documentary style. And it's again really cool to see that like this was something that people were doing like back in the early 2000s, because I feel like we see a lot of that. Like, I feel like if this was made today, it could have been an A24 movie or like a Neon movie. Like, it's very artful and like very just grounded in reality that like I feel like in the early 2000s we didn't get a lot of. Some of it's just really funny. I feel like some of like the scenes or like the locations that we were looking at, I kind of and it's really fucking dumb, but I honestly kept thinking like, dude, when is the main character from Love Exposure going to show up? Like I don't know, like
Imagine,
there was just some
imagine the
shots that
background. You just see some guy run by, take a photo under some girl's skirt.
he runs under a Kara and takes a photo of him and runs away. Like, but I don't know, like there was just like some moments that made me think like I guess it was just like the lighting or just like the time of day and obviously the setting that made me think of Love Exposure. And the movie came out only like 4 years after that. Um,
Yeah, well,
but
Love
it was just
Exposure
really
came out 7 years after this film.
What did?
Love Exposure,
Oh,
2011,
was
right?
it I thought it was 2008. Sorry.
It might be. I might be wrong. Actually, I think it was 2008. 2008. It was.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
3 hours and 57 minutes, bro. I forgot
We
how far.
fucking did that shit, dude.
Would you give attachment for
For
Nobody Knows?
attachment, I gave it a 3. Again, I did like this movie. It was obviously something that I wasn't really expecting. I thought we were just going to go into this and it should feel like it's another middle of the pack movie, but again, like a lot of these movies on the list, like they're on here for a reason. Like there's going to be something that wows you or gives you something that you've never seen before, and I think like just even that ending alone was just like it just absolutely wrecked me. So that's something I'll never forget. That like you come in a suitcase and you leave and get buried in that same suitcase. Like that hits really hard.
Yeah, I almost gave this a 2, but I think I'm gonna land it at a 3. It again, 3 is just really my default for this category. So unless a movie either really sucks and or I really really fucking hate a movie, or the opposite is true, then it's gonna be a 3. So that lands me at a 74, I believe, which is the highest score that a 3.5 star movie can get according to the ratings. What did it
Yeah,
end up for
it's
you?
I'm sorry, I'm just like putting in the so yeah, you landed at a 74. I landed at an 80. Just
Wow.
crazy. So yeah, it ends it at an 80 for me, a 74 for Parker. So we end up with a 77 overall. So a 4-star film. It goes right above Fanny and Alexander.
Why? Seriously, dude? Oh, I should have given it a fucking 2 in attachment. I just fucking might.
Do you want to?
What
We
average
can
is
do
that
it.
movie at?
Did you honestly feel more attached to this movie than Fanny and Alexander?
Put a 2 there and see what it does to the score.
So it ties it with Fanny and Alexander.
Yeah, I say yes. I liked Fanny and Alexander and Love Exposure better than this movie.
Okay.
Personally, I know your score is higher though, so I want you to speak on it too.
No, I honestly like if we were gonna put it up to just like what movie would I rewatch above like nobody knows, I would watch Fanny and Alexander and Love Exposure over this
Okay,
movie.
it's done then. It's done.
So then above Sancho the Bailiff, yo, he was pissed, y'all.
I feel satisfied now.
76.
No hate on Nobody Knows, bro, but Fanny and Alexander and Love Exposure are too damn low on this list, in my opinion.
Well, cool. So
And you
that's
know
where
what
we'll
that
end it.
means? That means we've got a 30-second film to add.
You have a 30-second film to add.
Let's do it.
We're
We're
gonna.
almost a third of the way through. The film after this will be a third.
Oh yeah, because 3-3. Yeah, gotcha. Well, cool. We're putting Nobody Knows in the suitcase that we brought it into. We're gonna we're gonna we're gonna dive
Just
into our
wheel.
30-second movie. Let's fucking do it, baby.
Let's go with
All right. We didn't even like name a movie.
Oh
my
one
god.
of those.
No.
Nice.
Oh,
Spike Lee joint.
yeah.
Dude, this is apt because Spike Lee's coming out with Highest and Lowest this year too, which is a remake of High and Low. So I'm cool. This is Spike
Which
Lee,
I'm
right?
still blown away that like you broke the news to me that on the podcast, and now I'm like seeing it now. I'm just like, it takes me back to like that specific episode, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy. But yeah, for those listening, we pulled Spike Lee's classic film "Do the Right Thing" from
I've been wanting to watch
1989.
this forever.
Same.
Forever.
A young Giancarlo Esposito in this movie too, and has a iconic scene about Jordans that I love.
I don't know a thing about it.
Oh, then good. Go into it like that. When we started this list, it was at number 55, and so now
It's now at number 61, which is
it's
pretty
dropped.
surprising. It's taken a tumble of 6 spots. Yeah, but we have if you don't mind, I'll hop into it. We have 1989's Do the Right Thing. It's the hottest day of the summer. You can do nothing, you can do something, or you can do the right thing. Salvatore Fragioni, wow, embarrassing for me, is the Italian owner of a pizzeria in Brooklyn, a neighborhood local bugging out. Maybe that's his name, I suppose, bugging out. becomes upset when he sees that the pizzeria's wall of fame exhibits only Italian actors. Bugging Out believes a pizzeria in a black neighborhood should showcase black actors, but Sal disagrees. The wall becomes a symbol of racism and hate to Bugging Out and to other people in the neighborhood, and tensions rise. I'm very excited to watch this. It has
I
an
love
average
that
rating
synopsis,
of
honestly.
4.4 on Letterboxd, and yeah, great synopsis. Like we said, it's number 61, and dude, gonna talk about it
This
soon.
movie's just a fucking vibe. Like I've never seen this movie before, but obviously like I'm very familiar with like Spike Lee's like other films. Like I really liked Black Klansman. But I've always just like seen clips of this movie and just like the wardrobe, the music, like just it really is he's going for a vibe, and it's obvious there's a reason why this movie is held in such high regard. Like I'm excited to actually finally watch this fucking movie. But as always, Parker, it's been a pleasure to be able to talk about Nobody Knows, and I'm excited to jump in to do the right thing. But as always, where can people find you?
Nobody knows.
Nobody do the right thing, Parker, and give us where we can find you.
Maybe next week. Sorry. Ha! Where can people find you, Felix?
Well, for now, you can find me at Letterboxd at ETZIO911, and just remember to follow Letterboxd or Letterbros on Letterbros Pod on Instagram for updates. Go find Parker on Letterboxd. He's been writing some reviews. I do want to watch I'm gonna watch Warfare tomorrow, so I'm
Do it.
excited for that.
Are you watching in IMAX?
I
Dolby?
can.
I would recommend it. I need to go rewatch it in IMAX or in Dolby. You should.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and you do like Alex Garland when he does war films, so I'm excited for it.
I did not like this movie as much as Civil War. But
I know it. You didn't give it 5 stars. So.
right. Like Civil War is, I think, a year later is a top 10 movie for me all time. I really think like it just, I don't know why it dug itself deep into my brain and into my heart, and I'm like, I'm a ride or die for that movie.
Hell yeah, we love to see it.
But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to next week. Great episode. Thanks for
Yeah.
hopping on despite my technical difficulties today.
It's okay. It's gonna make editing a lot of fun. But other than that, guys, thanks for listening. Yes, thank you. But as always, guys, this is the Letterbros podcast, and we will see you at the movies.